Hi, I'm Deborah,
And I'm Lawrence.
and in this video we're going to talk about because of the crazy, scary situation we're in with coronavirus, um, how can you tell whether you or someone you know might be starting to suffer from clinical depression? I mean, to be honest, I actually was thinking we shouldn't do another video about coronavirus. Um, But the thing is, this is like the
It's getting
most
worse.
challenging, this is the most challenging mental health situation that's been around since I've been alive. And probably for most people, that's the same case. So, since our channel is here to help people with mental health issues and especially depression, we thought, well, what about people who aren't used to thinking, who have depression, who aren't used to like taking their temperature, their mental health temperature, and so how to recognize it. So one of the biggest problems is the way that depression is diagnosed and the questions that a doctor would ask you are kind of, a lot of them don't apply. So for instance, one of the questions a doctor will ask is, when did has your behavior changed, or has your mood changed, or if it's someone that has their behavior changed, has their mood changed? Well, I mean, first of all, everyone's behavior has changed. We don't have a choice. Either we're sheltering in place, or we're waiting to hear about someone who's sick, or someone's sick themselves.
I mean, even then, it's just everything going on.
It's crazy.
You can't predict people's emotions. You can't have a regular baseline because with everything already happening and how it's developing, I don't expect anybody's going to be normal for a while.
There is no normal, because people react differently to situations like this, and just because someone's reacting or you're reacting a way that you maybe don't think is the right way, there really is no right way, because this is just crazy. This is
unprecedented.
It's unprecedented. It's crazy. I mean,
it's been 100 years since
since
something of this caliber happened.
Yeah. So that's a problem. So you can't say, have things changed? Yeah, well, they definitely have. And honestly, we have to change. Like, if you weren't adapting to this situation, it actually would be less healthy. So your behavior and your moods and your attitudes are going to change because you have to, or you have to be flexible and adaptable, and that's the most healthy way to be. Some of the other things that doctors look for are, have someone's eating and sleeping patterns changed? Well, a lot of us, and probably I would assume.
Continue.
I would assume, close to 100% of people in the U.S. are going to find that something has changed about their life in this situation. So, a lot of us are going to react. Even things like working at home, I'm staying up late. I may not be getting as good sleep as I am. We may be eating differently because we're changing our eating depending on what we have in the fridge. I mean, there's a lot of different things. Maybe some of us have lost our appetites. Maybe some of us are eating more. Maybe we're eating more carbs. Maybe we're drinking more. I mean, there's a lot of different things that aren't necessarily clinical depression signs. Another thing that I know that I usually think of as a sign that I'm getting into depression is that it seems like just everything sucks. Like, everything I think about, my life, my family, my job, like everything sucks. And to me, that's one sign of depression.
But I mean, given the current state of things, that's not an unusual thought.
Right.
But I mean, if it's constant and about every single thing, no matter if it's something that's even a little bit positive, you're still you can't find any upsides.
Yeah, I
It's
think
still
if you find that you can't drag yourself out of that way of thinking, and or you can't drag the person, that you're worried about, that might have clinical depression out of that way of thinking at all, like for any amount of time, that probably is a danger sign. Because I think most people will, like, from what I've read of situations like, living through the Holocaust and a lot of different things like that, I mean, people did find moments of happiness. So if you just feel, if you're just not, if you're just in a dark place and there's absolutely no moments when you feel any better, then that might be a sign. Again, the thing is to remember that everyone is under stress. Some people, especially people who are first responders, medical personnel, they're under incredible amounts of stress. They're not getting much sleep.
They are not going to have any semblance of normalcy in their life.
So it would be kind of hard to tell. And honestly, I mean, what they're dealing with people dying, of course, they're going to be depressed. I mean, it's just again, it's unprecedented. I think one thing that might actually be distinctly different with clinical depression is if you feel like you are having thoughts that are kind of so radically different from the thoughts you normally have, and thoughts that are kind of outside yourself, especially if you feel like you're hearing another voice. And this may sound like, oh my God, she's talking about schizophrenia. No, sometimes depressive thoughts can almost feel like someone else is talking to you. I think if you especially start having thoughts about yourself, you're stupid, you can't do anything right. I mean, those are very unique to depression, to clinical depression, to a great extent. Also, if suicidal thoughts, those are a pretty clear sign. Now, not everyone has them. I mean, this is, again, another one of the problems is that everyone's depression is different. My depression is different from Lawrence's. So, it's not going to be cut and dried. So one thing I think I would look at, even though, again, this is kind of an unusual situation, is first of all, look at and we'll put links down below for all this stuff, but look at the lists for clinical depression symptoms. Again, some of them won't apply, but the other thing is, on my website, Wing of Madness, I also have a list of what does depression feel like, and it's, I don't know, about 20 or 30, 20 different things, but then there are literally a couple of thousand comments that people have posted on what it feels like to them. And so sometimes something may strike a chord, and it's something that doesn't, that isn't really explained away by being in this crazy situation.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that would probably be helpful. So if you feel pretty strongly that you or someone so if it's you, then what you want to do is, granted at this time, most doctors aren't seeing people in person.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see if you can get a diagnosis, there's a good chance you won't be able to, because shelter in place is in effect in a lot of places.
And your insurance might not cover telemedicine, but there's actually a very good chance that I think that you could get a phone call with your doctor. So you call your GP, or if you don't have a GP, ask around till you find a GP that a lot of people like. And, because in a lot of cases, you're going to start with a GP. If it's a good GP, they'll know what they're doing. And, this is something that sometimes we found that good GPs are better than psychiatrists. So anyway, that's, something. So you want to see about getting as good a diagnosis as you can. And if it's someone that the first thing to do is to get them to talk to you. Talk about their feelings. If it may be someone that it's really hard to get them to talk about their feelings, they may say everything's okay, there's no problem, or they may just not want to talk. Now, if it's someone who normally doesn't really have a problem with conversation or talking about their feelings, and all of a sudden they're clammed up, that might be a sign. But so you need to get them to talk. about this. And then, of course, help them, if it sounds like they are possibly having clinical depression, then to get them to contact their doctor, or find a doctor, because clearly things are
They're bad.
they're bad, and they're probably not going to get better. And a lot of people obviously are going to be dealing with things like financial strains and everything. So honestly, the last thing you want to neglect is possible depression. Um, even in good times, you don't want to do that. Now, when people really need to be able to make it through at least a couple more months of this, just in general, and the consequences of shelter in place, everything,
Yeah,
just
I get what you
everything.
mean.
There's just so much. People really need to be able to be at their best. And of course, also, some of the ways that we've talked about to help alleviate or prevent depression to some extent is getting stress off your body, getting enough sleep, eating well as much as possible. But again, one big thing is, because there's such a strong connection between stress and depression, you definitely want to make sure you're getting that stress off your body as much as possible. And we did a video last week about ways to deal with anxiety, stress, and isolation. So a lot of links and suggestions are in that. So definitely look at that.
Well, in any case, we hope that one, you're doing all right, and two, that we have given you some modicum of help or something of that sort through in these times. But in the case of the usual stuff, if you enjoyed this video, you can leave a like on it. If you'd like to say anything at all, you can leave it in the form of a comment. And if you enjoy this content and would like to see more of it, you can subscribe. In any case, though, we hope that you have a nice day.
Take care, please.